Thank you all so much for joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaja's daily class. Today, we are continuing with our Srimad Bhagavatam series. We are almost at the end of first canto. So this chapter is appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. Yeah, we are very happy to have Maharaj on the call. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You can please take over. I'll share my screen again. Yes, Maharaj, please.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Atapritchami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purushasyeha yatkaryam miryamanasya sarvata. So this is Maharaj Parikshit continuing his glorification of Sukadeva Goswami, who has just arrived on the scene. Translation: You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I'm therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, especially for one who is about to die. Purport: Unless one is perfectly anxious to inquire about the way of perfection, there is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master. Spiritual master is not a kind of decoration for a householder. Generally, a fashionable materialist engages a so-called spiritual master without any profit. The pseudo-spiritual master flatters the so-called disciple, and thereby both the master and his ward go to hell without a doubt. Maharaj Parikshit is the right type of disciple because he puts forward questions vital to the interest of all men, particularly for the dying men. The question put forward by Maharaj Parikshit is the basic principle of the complete thesis of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let us see how intelligently the great master replies. Om Gyantimidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Vu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Prabhupada makes a very powerful statement. The question put forward by Maharaj Parikshit is the basic principle of the complete thesis of Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that question? We are here in this material world, and this material world is a place of temporality. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dukalayam Masasratam, Anityam Asubham. He says it in two places in the Bhagavad Gita, that this place is temporary and it's miserable. So still, we are here in this material world. So what is the purpose of life? Purpose of life in the material world, as explained, and this is the thesis here, is that everyone has to leave the world at some time So what we do in the world will determine where we go in our next birth. Whether we'll come back here in this material world, in one of the three levels of existence, higher planets, where life in the heavenly planets is very glorious. It has much material opulence and the longevity in comparison to other places is quite lengthy. Or we come back to this realm of middle planets, which is the Earth planet is one of them. Or we go down to the lower planets, where life is very short and there is also much suffering. Or maybe even one will fall from the human form into a lower species of life. Karanam Gunasangosya Sadasat Joni Janmasura is explained in the scriptures. The living entity, life after life, is traveling through the different planetary systems, taking birth in one species of life, dying, accepting another species and dying, and continuing that cycle. Samsara Dava Nalita Loka, it's saying, in that cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age is happening life after life. So what is the purpose of all this? The purpose is to get out of this cycle. To be in this cycle is unnatural because the soul, the living entity, it doesn't, although living in an ephemeral world of temporality, it is not temporary. The soul is eternal. The living entity is an eternal existence. But we cannot experience our eternality nor the happiness that comes with life in a place that is temporary. It's like if one is put in prison and is shackled by chains, they are still living, but still there is no happiness. It's simply a type of punishment. So the material world is designed in such a way as to frustrate any attempts by the living entity to stay here or to be happy here. Why is that? Because then one will start to come to the point of inquiry. Why do I have to die? Why do I have to suffer? What is the purpose of life? How can I achieve happiness? These are all important questions. And these questions was asked by Maharaj Parikshit, but now he gives the basic question. What is perfection of life? The perfection of life means to prepare ultimately for the departure from this world. To live life in such a way that we don't have to come back again into this temporary world of birth and death, which is contrary to our nature and is always miserable in any situation that one may achieve. And so now, in order to get the answers and the means by which one can perfect their life, they require a spiritual master or a representative of the Supreme Lord who is endowed with the empowerment coming from the Lord to uplift the conditioned souls back to their eternal home in the spiritual world. So a spiritual master is, in one sense, the pure representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his business is not to simply become a decoration for a householder here, as Prabhupada says. This is one of the deviations in understanding the purpose of a spiritual master. There are people who are sometimes very prestigious, and they want a spiritual master to somehow or other continue their prestige in this material world. But they're not so much interested in getting a real spiritual master, one who will help them be free from this cycle of birth and death. when Srila Prabhupada was in India, and he had just finished giving a very powerful lecture. I can't remember the exact place, but after, people were coming up to offer their respects and to meet Srila Prabhupada. One very aristocratic, well-dressed man and his wife came and speaking very sweetly and very properly. They approached Srila Prabhupada, and the man says, "Swamiji, please give me your blessings." Prabhupada was not a person to be somewhat patronizes people's statements, to think that, well, yes, that's very nice. Yeah, I'll give you a blessing. No, Prabhupada looked at the person and said, "You don't want my blessings." The man was somewhat taken aback by Prabhupada's statement. "I don't want your blessings." "No, no, Swamiji, please give me your blessings." Prabhupada again repeated himself, "You don't want my blessings." Prabhupada could understand the man and why he was asking. And then the third time he asked again, and Prabhupada said, "All right, I bless you that your material life is finished." And that was the end of the exchange. The man just remained quiet and drifted away. So people don't want the blessings of the spiritual master if it means not furthering their material life. But a sincere disciple will understand that the real blessings is service to the Supreme Lord, which will uplift their life in such a way that they don't have to take birth again in this material world. Janma Mrityu Jara Vari Dukkha Doshan Udarshanam. This place is what it is. It's a place of punishment for the living entity who has left the spiritual world to try to enjoy separately from the Lord. So everyone in this material world is a criminal. We have deviated from the proper behavior in the spiritual world, using our, what we say, independence, and so we could become free from the control of the Supreme Lord and do what we wanted to do. And therefore, this place is for those, just like those who break the laws of the state still takes care of them by putting them into a place of rectification known as the prison house. So this is what this material is, to rectify our wrong mentality and bring us back to the right mentality of understanding our position as eternal servant of the Lord. Living life in that mood, and the life in this material world can be very happy when one is engaged in devotional service of the Lord, because one is actually acting according to their nature and preparing themselves for their development of pure consciousness, which will bring them out of this material world back to the land of eternality, where life is eternal. We are eternal, so life is eternal, but not eternally living in a temporary sojourn in this material world, where we keep changing our position life after life, not knowing our eternal relationship and accepting death as the end of our activities in this material world. But eternality means to live in an environment where eternality is also the mood of activity, and not only eternality, but happiness and that knowledge, which is perfect, pure, and in relationship to loving service of the Supreme Personality. All these things are there in the soul, but the soul still, because of its attachment to the temporary, struggles to somehow find these same things in the world of the temporary, which is not there. There's a little antidote that sometimes we use to describe the foolishness of the living entity in the material world. There is one man, he's looking on the ground, he's looking, and his friend comes by and says, "Oh, what are you looking for?" He said, "Well, I lost some money here." "Oh, okay. Let me help you look." So they're both looking. After some time, the friend says, "Are you sure you lost the money here? I don't find anything." The man says, "No, I didn't lose it here. I lost it over in that direction, but there is more light here." Now, this is the foolishness of the living entity, because we think that we can see the material world, and because we have a desire to become happy, we connect that desire to become happy with the so-called forms and activities of this material world, and we try to fulfill that need for happiness. And therefore, we simply struggle life after life. But here, getting a spiritual master, especially one like Sukadeva Goswami, who is a self-realized soul, who instantly can speak words which will change the whole consciousness of a sincere disciple back to its original consciousness of loving service to the Supreme Lord. And so, as Prabhupada said, this question, what is important for a man about to die, is the essence of all spiritual questions. Because everyone in this material world is under the influence of time. And time is that energy which moves everything from one situation to another, ending all temporary manifestations in this world, and then recreating another temporary manifestation, which will also end in due course of time. So one should get free from the time factor and take shelter under He who is time itself, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Mithya sarva rahasya aham. He says, "I am time. I am that time that moves everything along to its ending, its destinated end." So the time energy is Krishna's material energy to move the living entity from one situation to another. So we want to be free from time by taking shelter of the controller of time, which is Sri Krishna himself. And this is done by following the instructions, of course, first finding and then taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and then following his instructions very carefully. And then when one has a spiritual master, one can be happy knowing that if they simply follow the instructions with attention, with seriousness, not just in a very, what we say, formal way, just to execute the instructions, but in a way to offer the activities that we perform given to us by the spiritual master as offerings to the Lord in devotion. And in due course of time, although one may still be in the world of names, the world of temporality, one can experience the happiness of spiritual life still while they're in this material world, because their consciousness is not in the material world, although their body may be. And because life is based on consciousness. Wherever your consciousness is, that's where you are. We can be in one place listening to a lecture or doing something, but if we're thinking about another place or another situation, then that's where we are. We're in where our consciousness takes us. So there is the pure consciousness, which is that consciousness which will take us back to the spiritual world, which is called God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. So one should achieve this perfection of life by coming to the platform of accepting a spiritual master and working carefully under his guidance, and the self-realized soul can impart knowledge because he has seen the truth. And tadviri pratipatena paripasyena sevaya upadeksyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. This is the principle spoken by Krishna himself. Krishna himself speaks what is the spiritual master and how to approach him. Pariprasyena, paripatena, and sevaya. Submissive inquiry with a desire to serve. And that qualifies one to become elevated to the spiritual platform under the guidance of Krishna's representative. Now, this is the essence of this particular sloka here, and this question is, you'll see later in the second canto, as that unfolds, you'll see Sukadeva Goswami, he glorifies this question. He says, you have asked the most important question because it's not only for your benefit, it's for the benefit of everyone, especially what is the duty of a person who is about to die. And so one should learn how to approach a spiritual master, and one should take the instructions as one's life and soul. It says for a serious devotee, they're always thinking how to serve the spiritual master. They don't make their own ideas on how to serve. They accept the guidance and the instructions that come with the guidance as a way to offer service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So searching out a spiritual master, taking shelter of him, inquiring submissively, getting involved in devotional service, ultimately becoming connected with the parampara through the process of initiation, which formalizes that relationship wherein now there is a contract that the spiritual master agrees to do everything within his power to take the disciple back home, back to Godhead, and the disciple agrees to follow very strictly and carefully the instructions given by the spiritual master. Sometimes we see that people are very enthusiastic about spiritual life, and then they also become initiated. But after becoming initiated, after after years of practicing Krishna consciousness, they start to become less serious in following their vows, and sometimes even avoid the spiritual master because they are somewhat embarrassed, not knowing that they are not following, and therefore they avoid the spiritual master. And that is one of them. It's like if you're sick, you want to get a physician who can help you overcome your illness. You don't avoid the doctor. You look for one. So when we fall from the standard after having followed the standard, we should look how to get back to that standard again. And because the spiritual master is not a person to condemn you for slipping away, he knows that this material world is a very difficult place to live in, and there are so many distractions, and we have so many attachments to how to become happy here. So he knows that working with a disciple, as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta used to say, to make one devotee, one person a pure devotee takes 300 gallons of blood. It's blood, sweat, and tears from the spiritual master just to make one person serious in Krishna consciousness. So, but we shouldn't take advantage of the spiritual master's efforts by neglecting to follow and seriously try. Therefore, one of the principles that Rupa Goswami emphasizes in the relationship with the spiritual master, and Srila Prabhupada was an example for that, is that he would approach his spiritual master and say, "How can I serve you?" And that is the statement of one who is actually understanding the relationship between guru and disciple. How can I serve? And therefore, even if one falls away, of course, we don't want to fall away, but sometimes it happens. We get back up again. Srila Prabhupada would say, to fall down is third class, to get back up is first class. Don't stay down. It's not that falling down means staying down. Falling down means just like if you fall, you're walking along the road and somehow you trip and you hit your foot or something and you stumble. You get up and then you start to walk again in the proper way. Not that you stay there and lament the fact that you fell down. So in the same way, this material world is not easy to extract our attention away from or the desire to enjoy. But if we are serious and carefully follow the spiritual master and take guidance, then we will always be successful in the process of Krishna consciousness. And what pleases the spiritual master the most? It's not here that the spiritual master is pleased simply because he's receiving some accolades or some praise from his disciple or some remuneration, either financial or others, from his disciple. These things are just ways that disciple shows their appreciation. But the spiritual master is pleased when he sees the disciple is trying very hard to follow the instructions and is making advancement. That pleases the spiritual master the most. When Srila Prabhupada was he was traveling in the United States. This was in 1975. He came to the Atlanta, Georgia temple, and devotees had come. Prabhupada had just been on a very extensive tour from place to place. Now he landed in Atlanta, and people came from all over the United States. I remember I wanted to go also, but I wasn't able to go because of my services I had in New Vrindavan at the time. And Prabhupada came, and then Prabhupada he gave many powerful lectures. And one was the Sunday feast lecture where the temple was so crowded that people were standing outside the window looking in so they could hear Srila Prabhupada. This wasn't the summertime. This was at the end of February. Of course, in the south of America, it's quite warm. And so many devotees were there. And the temple was like high energy at the time. You can hear the lectures during the time. It's like February 28th, March 1st, 2nd, 1975, Atlanta, Georgia. And then Prabhupada opened it up for questions during the Sunday feast. There were many guests there who asked questions. And you could feel the energy coming through as you're listening to this recording of Srila Prabhupada's talk and the response that the devotees were getting. And one book distributors had come all over from America to be with Prabhupada. He asked Prabhupada somewhat of a question that he thought he knew what Prabhupada was going to answer. Sometimes devotees would do that. They would ask Prabhupada a question, preceding his answer. So the devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? And Prabhupada had often say, if you distribute my books, that pleases me very much. But Prabhupada didn't answer that way. He answered in a more exact way of what is the purpose of a spiritual master. And he said, what pleases the spiritual master the most is that if you love Krishna, if you love Krishna. And so he was saying this is the purpose of the spiritual master's service to the Lord, is to teach and awaken the disciples' love for Krishna. And that's very pleasing when the spiritual master sees people are making advancement towards love of God. He becomes very, very pleased. And not simply some formality with a lot of decorations around here, simply to exchange some gifts and some nice, sweet words. It's about going back home, back to Godhead. Okay, so we'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. That's such a wonderful class and a lot of reminders for all the disciples. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now and please turn on your cameras. Thank you so much. Maharaj, while others are thinking, so when you're talking about enthusiasm, so I was remembering like whenever spiritual master is around and we get the personal association, we are always enthusiastic to serve the spiritual master, and also we are very ecstatic in spiritual practice at that time. But later we go down a little bit. So how to, and also when you are saying that after some years, we lose little enthusiasm in our practice of devotional service. So how to maintain that enthusiasm all the time?
The purpose of the physical presence of the spiritual master is to inspire the devotee in his Krishna consciousness more and more, which attaches the devotee to the spiritual master. Therefore, that attachment, just to use an example, when Srila Prabhupada was leaving the world, he asked that every disciple from all around the world come and see him before his departure. He knew he would be leaving very soon. And of course, some of us made it and some of us didn't make it. And there were many reasons why. Prabhupada did that because he knew that he wanted to give his disciples more and more of an attachment to him, so much so that when he left, they would be really fixed in following his instructions. So the purpose of Vapu, which means physical form, is to awaken that desire to serve more and more. So if that doesn't happen, then we are not actually taking the advantage of his personal presence. We're simply trying to enjoy in that personal presence, but not taking the advantage of what his personal presence is about, is to inspire us in his instructions. And so we cannot always have that personal presence. But Vani, which is the other aspect of the Spiritual Masters Association, is much more long-term and much more deeper in the relationship, the instructions of the spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say, I am chanting Hare Krishna, and you are chanting Hare Krishna. We are never separated, because we are both acting on the same platform of spiritual practice. I'm following my spiritual master's instructions, and you're following my instructions. We are all together. Well, the instructions or the lifeline of the disciple. So the purpose of the physical presence is to inspire us more and more in that, in the instructions of the spiritual master. And not like, well, if we simply are inspired by his personal presence and we lose that, then we are not actually understanding what is the proper mood to associate with the spiritual master. We're taking it more, we're thinking the spiritual master is the body. The spiritual master is not the body. Spiritual master is the principle of service to Krishna. That's his actual. When Malati Devi was serving Srila Prabhupada in India, she was cooking for him. She was doing a lot of personal service. At one point, Prabhupada had to leave and go to another place, and she wasn't able to go. So she wrote Prabhupada a letter after some time being separated from his personal presence. She was feeling separation from him. Prabhupada acknowledged her sentiments, but he also said, the spiritual master is not the body. He's the principle of devotion to Krishna. So if you're serving the spiritual master's instructions, you're also associating with the spiritual master. And that will be realized through the process of service. It's not simply some theoretical statement that sounds good. It happened. There isn't a realization, yes, I'm always with my spiritual master because I'm following his instructions.
Yes, Maharaj, yeah. So over the years, when we are serving more and more, then we get more realizations about how close we are with the spiritual master and how much we are attached to him.
Yeah, but our attachment should not wane when we don't have personal association. It should increase, actually. Our attachment to the spiritual master should increase when we are not in his personal presence. The longing to serve the spiritual master is also the heart's desire to please the spiritual master, and that is the loving relationship between guru and disciple, which is transferred ultimately to Krishna by the mercy of the spiritual master.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much.
It's not a material movement. It's based on spiritual principles, which are eternal and not simply based on time, place, and location or circumstance.
Yes, Maharaj, got it. Thank you so much. Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Srimati. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, as you spoke about the seriousness of the relationship between disciple and spiritual master, as Srimati pointed out, when we are with the spiritual master, we are very excited, enthusiastic, energized, we want to follow, etc. But when there is distance and separation, and even we may not have association of our god sisters and brothers, then we may become somewhat weak in our spiritual life. So, to prevent ourselves from becoming weak like that, is it important to share the spiritual master's instructions with those who are close to us so that we are held accountable, we are reminded, or we can ask our God family, see, this is what Gurudev has asked me to do. Please help me. Please pray for me. Please remind me that I must follow these instructions as best as I can. And have someone to sort of be accountable, because we're all on our own and pretty much nobody is checking on us. Are we chanting our rounds? Are we following Guru Maharaj's instructions? But we need some checks and balances system. Of course, our mentors are there, but would it help to reveal those instructions to our God family and ask them to help us?
You have posed the question and you have answered the question. Yeah. You answered the question yourself, yeah. That's why Prabhupada said, I've created this ISKCON society in order to create loving exchanges between devotees. If we don't take advantage of devotee association, we also will lose the enthusiasm to serve our spiritual master when he's not personally present. So yeah, sadhu sangha is essential in all aspects of Krishna consciousness. If we take association from the non-devotees, we will also lose the appreciation for the association of devotees and the benefit that we can gain from that association. We will see things simply in a materialistic way. Yeah, and so one should seek out the association of devotees, which are everywhere, and then remind each other. We talk about Prabhupada because Prabhupada is above all of the other. He is the foundation by which all of the other persons who are in a position of spiritual masters teach and live accordingly. So if we keep Srila Prabhupada in the center, and then we all have a connection with each other through our instruction, through our spiritual master, and directly with Srila Prabhupada. So it's Vani that carries us through. Prabhupada would also give examples. And he said, I'm never separated from my spiritual master. He's always with me. And there's also devotees who also have the same experience with Prabhupada. Look at Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. He was so dedicated to serving Srila Prabhupada that every moment he was intensifying his service to think of ways to spread Krishna consciousness more and more and more. He was an example of a person who we would consider to be a Prabhupada man, one who lived every moment to serve and satisfy Srila Prabhupada. So there's many examples of personalities who live according to the instructions. And you become fortified and nourished, energized in the association of other devotees. Reminding each other of the instructions, as you mentioned, is very important. Not in a preachy way, but in a way to somehow inspire each other in our service to Krishna. Yeah, it's all about sadhu sangha.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any more questions? Maharaj, when you are saying about following the instructions of the spiritual master, even when he is not present, I see here in Dallas temple, a lot of many devotees, senior devotees of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. They serve so nicely and they are always enthusiastic and they are very motivated all the time, and they encourage others, new devotees or neophytes, to come and participate in the temple activities and all. So how much dedication they have and sincerity. So they are all leading in this temple, and it's a wonderful example for all of us here, Maharaj. I just want to share that.
Yeah, Tamal Krishna Goswami was very powerful. He was also considered one who was very close to and very dedicated to Srila Prabhupada.
Conrad Prabhuji, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances as your support on God. You spoke about that everyone and everything is under the control of time in the material world.
Hare Krishna,
that's-
sorry, your voice is not that much clear.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Try again.
Maybe this is, can you hear me better?
This is better. Yes, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you spoke about that everyone and everything is under the control of time in the material world. And that's something that since coming into Krishna consciousness that always sits on my mind, kind of that this time is always moving energy along, and it motivates me to always dive into service, focus on my chanting to really get that connection back with the Supreme Lord. But also I find myself frustrated at times because I feel like, I'm not really I'm still so fallen, and and time's so limited and it's still moving along. And when I speak to other devotees and older devotees about it, they always hit me with, patience. It's patience. And how do you have that patience when time is always moving?
Yeah, Rupa Goswami explains Utsaham Nishtaya Darya, enthusiasm, determination, and patience. Prabhupada talks about the importance of patience by using examples. Although we are in a situation where everything is in place, still we haven't reached or don't experience our loving relationship with the Lord yet. But if you continue in the same way, following carefully and executing your devotional service, in a matter of time, everything will be revealed. For example, Prabhupada would use the example of a woman who gets married. Now she has a husband, and then she thinks, well, where is the child? Of course, the husband's there, and the child will come in due course of time. So it requires some patience. So any good thing doesn't happen immediately. We are in this world of instant gratification, where now you can buy anything. If you order something on Amazon, you can get it almost the same day, or maybe even the next day. So everything is so easily available in this world, but that's not how spiritual realization works. It's a process of gradual coming to the point of perfection. So remain enthusiastic, keep executing your devotional service. And patience is also fortified in the association of devotees. When we have nice devotee association, we're not so much eager for the results of our activity, but we're just happy in that association by serving and associating with other devotees. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Was that helpful?
Yes, very. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be right back. Someone's knocking on my door, and I'll be back in 2 minutes.
That's nice. Devotees, please feel free to ask questions, and it's a wonderful topic, and yeah, definitely we'll have many questions. Yeah, Aarti Mataji, you raised your hand previously. Do you have a question?
Okay.
You can unmute Mataji if you don't have it. So, okay. You are on mute, Mataji.
Sorry, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. Maharaj, as I heard, like a person should follow the instructions of a spiritual master. So, because I'm very confused, and I have heard a lot, but I want to make sure that what instructions we should follow? Like, what are the instructions?
Oh, yeah. There are general instructions for everyone, which are in Srila Prabhupada's books. It's there. We speak about it all the time. Every day, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is the foremost instruction. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, especially these two books, every day. Try to take only foodstuffs that are offered to the Lord, Krishna Prasadam. These are basic. Take opportunities to go to the temple and see the deity, offer your respects. If you have time, also offer some time for doing some service in the temple. Associate with other devotees who are doing the same thing. These are all essential, practical, basic instructions for everybody. There are specific instructions that certain disciples receive from their spiritual master, and that is above and beyond the basic instructions, but the basic instructions are for everyone.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And Maharaji, can I write to you?
Yeah, and the most important one is Hare Krishna. If you're not initiated, make a numerical vow. How many rounds you're going to chant every day. Never go below that round, and follow that carefully day to day. And if you can, gradually come to the point of chanting 16 rounds. When you come to the point of chanting 16 rounds and you're following the restrictions, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling, and you're doing this for at least a year, then one is qualified for initiation.
Maharaji, I'm chanting 16 rounds daily, and also just I have eating prasadam, and whenever I get a chance, I don't miss to go to temple. I try to go to the temple every time when I get a chance. And for the services, because my son needs all-time assistance, so I am not like, I cannot take too much services. It's like I wanted to, Maharaj, I wanted to do, but because of him, it's like little bit difficult for me.
You're not required, but do what you can do. But one of the things that gives us happiness in Krishna consciousness is associating with other devotees. No man is an island in themselves. We need association, whether it's material world, spiritual world, association, relationships are the foundation for happiness. So when you have Krishna consciousness association, you're happy. You follow the process and you're enjoying the association of other persons who are doing the same thing. You inspire each other. Develop friendship, develop trust, you develop loving relationships with others. If we don't do that part, then we're gonna struggle very hard to follow the process. It's gonna be very difficult. We're not yogis in the Himalayas. We can sit in a cave and just be by ourselves and do meditation. We need other devotees association. And that's what the purpose of the temples are for, to give us association. We can find that association even outside the temples in smaller groups that are going on. All of these things are there.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And Maharaj, can I write to you?
Of course.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
You can check with Srimati and she'll give you my email address.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you much. Dear devotees, any more questions? Maharaj, I have one I just want to make one clarification, find out with you. Like, so in the process of making our life spiritual, as you said, like it's spiritual life is not part of life. It's our life. It's the real life. So when we are trying to make our life spiritual, then all our material attachments are still there. And being a grihastha, so relatives and obligations and children and yeah, so a lot of other things. So will they go automatically, or like we have to make an effort to leave all them?
Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya has had many of his disciples were grihastas who had families. We have Lord Nityananda was also married and he had 2 children. Of course, he's the Supreme Lord. But then we also have examples of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and he had 10 children. Many of the spiritual masters were not just sannyasis, they were also grihastas too. So there's no what we say lack in becoming Krishna conscious in any ashram, provided you follow the rules and regulations of your ashram. So you can be Krishna conscious as a brahmachari, as a sannyasi, as a grihastha. Just follow. And we need examples. So we can also take inspiration from those in the grihastha ashram who are fixed in their own Krishna consciousness. See what is their understanding of how to perform their material responsibilities along with their spiritual practice. Learn from others. Read books that talk about these same topics. Not everything is not going to be handed to you. You have to somehow make an effort.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bonnie Mataji, please go.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, my humble obeisances. My question is that the other day, one of your god brothers, Maharaj, was telling me that I think he said Bhakti Vinod Thakur said that the descriptions of hell in the Bhagavatam are not true, that they are there to scare people. Did Bhakti Vinod Thakur say that?
Well, it's mentioned in Science of Self-Realization. They are true on the subtle platform. It's not that you don't have a physical body when you're in the hellish planet. You have the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego. The soul is captured inside of the subtle body. The subtle body is given a physical body when you come into that realm to undergo the sufferings you need to undergo. But the reality of the pain is all mental. The suffering is on the mental platform. But it's also experienced, just like when you go to sleep at night, you may also dream, and in your dream you're also suffering. Or you may be enjoying either one on the mental platform, but your physical body is laying in the bed. Still, suffering on the mental platform is basically what the hellish planets are like. The soul is being put into a situation of suffering, just like we're putting us into a situation of suffering here on this planet. Our body is not suffering, our mind is suffering. Our body is going through the trauma of suffering because our body is connected with our soul. But when the body is not there, the mind is still connected with the soul. And so the mind is going through all of these pains and pleasures on the subtle level, and that's what the hellish planets are about. So there is suffering. It's not some phantasmagoria, but it's on the subtle platform.
Thank you.
And subtle suffering is more, people don't commit suicide usually when they're physically suffering. They commit suicide when they're mentally suffering. So mental pain is even more severe than physical pain. Causes people to give up their physical body when the mental pain becomes unendurable.
So it sounds like hell is still quite real.
Yeah, it's real, but it's on the subtle platform. Suffering is there, but it's the mind is suffering. And because we're given a false body when we come into that realm, just to experience our mental suffering, we're actually thinking in that way that we're actually suffering physically. These hellish planets are real. They're not some imagination.
Hope it helps, Mataji. Okay.
I was just looking for the clarification on that because they seem so quite descriptively real, and the Bhagavatam spends such a long time on them that when this Prabhu had dismissed them so quickly, I was like, Thank you, Maharaj.
I'll give you another example. When you go into a movie theater and there's a horror movie there, you're sitting there and the horror is affecting your mind so much, you're suffering. But your body's there and it's okay in one sense. But even so, you're suffering on the mental platform. You're seeing all of these horrible things, and that's suffering. That's real suffering. That's not some illusion. And even when we suffer on the mental platform, it also affects us on the physical platform also, because these things are connected. So it's people don't understand. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that in Science of Self-Realization. If you read that, you'll find that, he explains how these sufferings are actually understood.
Thank you, Maharaj. Bhageshri Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and to your lotus feet, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, we heard from the Prabhupada times, there are many Prabhupada disciples who got initiated through post or a letter. Even some disciples did not had any darshans of Prabhupada in throughout their lifetime. So, my question is like, what nourishment they got, or what kind of inspiration they got, even without meeting them, their spiritual master, and how we can draw that nourishment, how we can nourish our consciousness that way, hankering for the spiritual association of the spiritual master, longing for the spiritual master. So, how they maintain their consciousness?
Well, Prabhupada used to say, if you want to associate with me, read my books. If you want to associate, read the books of your spiritual master, or hear the lectures of your spiritual master. Acquire from him also, even from a distance. One of the example you just used is also me. Prabhupada 2 times, and I never had a conversation with him. I didn't have a conversation, although I was present when he was present in New Vrindavan in 1974, 1970, again, 70 in New York. I was around him, but I never had a chance to him. I did a few services. And I saw him about 3 or 4 times. That was the most. So it's not required that you have personal association and dialogue with your spiritual master. There are people who had that and they fell away also. There are many who were personally present with Srila Prabhupada and had much interaction with him that are no longer practicing. Just to show you, it's the instructions that carry you, not so much the personal presence.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Be connected to your spiritual master simply by the instructions. There's people who dedicated their life to serve Prabhupada even after Prabhupada left, simply by reading his books. So many examples. Simply by reading his books, associating with his devotees. This is a spiritual movement.
Thank you, Maharaj. There is a question on chat by Rasavilasni Mataji. 1 second. Yeah, she is asking, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, yesterday you said that we have to live spiritual life constantly, not as a part of our life. Can you please elaborate this?
Yeah. Can I break? Just give me a break for a minute. I have to guide somebody in some service right on a local level here.
Yes,
It'll-
ma'am.
30 seconds. I'll be right back. So we change our water here. You take this, put it into the kettle. This is the fresh water. Put it here. Put this table here. Put everything on the plate with the spoon facing him. Is it boga or prashad?
It's to be offered, yet to be offered.
It's yet to be offered, and then you do the offering. Yes, you know how to do it. Okay. Make sure you wash your hands real good at it. Okay. Then you can use this table. Use this thing. Put on the outskirts of the table with the plate in front of him. Okay. So change the water first.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so please repeat your question.
Yes, Maharaj. We have to live spiritual life constantly, not as a part of our life. Can you please elaborate this?
What? Well, you see, people. Prabhupada talks about that using an example that there is people who are drunkards. They are drunk all the time, and so they drink one bottle, and when they're finished, they're always thinking, "Where can I get the next bottle?" And then they get another bottle, and then they finish that, and then they always want another bottle. So they got become absorbed in drinking. They're alcoholics. Their whole life centers around getting intoxicated. So in the same way, use every minute. You're serving 1 minute, continue to serve the next minute, and the next minute, and the next minute. Plan out your day, serve accordingly, and don't break. The wino doesn't, when he can't get his alcohol, he's suffering. So he's always looking how to get the next bottle. Prabhupada used that example. We should be like that wino who's always after his next fix. We're always thinking, how can I serve? What is my next, what am I going to do next? Plan your day out so you don't have to wonder about what to do. You know what to do. Keep yourself busy in Krishna consciousness. Then you're in the spiritual energy. Then you're not part of this material world at all.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much. Hope it helps, Mataji.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
It's
All right.
actually, sorry, Maharaj, one more question is there. Sakshi Mataji is asking, Hare Krishna Maharaj and Vaishnavas, please accept my humble obeisances. How do we understand that our spiritual master is pleased with us?
Prabhupada answered that question also. He said, because the connection is there, if the spiritual master is pleased, you're pleased. He used the example of Krishna, because we are eternally connected with Krishna. When we please Krishna, we are also pleased automatically. We don't have to take a notice from someone, am I pleased or not? No, it's an experience. Same with the spiritual master. We can't do that with material energy, because we have no connection with the material energy. We've created a connection, but it's false, and therefore we're trying to be happy in the material energy, but we can't be, because the connection is never there. We create a false connection, and then we try to get real happiness from the false connection. That's why no one's ever happy. You try to Krishna, then automatically you'll be happy, simply by trying to please him.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Mataji, I hope it helps. It answers your question. Lady, what is last minute? Dear devotees, any last minute questions or comments? Okay, Maharaj, thank you so much once again for your such a wonderful class and nice question answer discussion. We look forward to your class tomorrow again.
Yeah, continue to come. This section of the Bhagavatam is really, really deep.
Are we going to finish the chapter tomorrow, Maharaj?
Tomorrow, let's see.
I think a couple of more verses are there.
Yeah. We'll go through the remaining. There's one verse, 39, doesn't have a purport. No, 40. 40 is the last verse. That doesn't have a purport. 38 doesn't have a purport.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
30 is the only one. So we'll do 38, 39, and 40 tomorrow.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Thank you to your devotees for participating. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you for your wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.